after winning $200 million in the lottery. Catherine Morgan left her job behind and made her way back to her hometown, a small, weather-worn place she hadn't stepped foot in for years. As her train pulled into the station, rain pounded the platform like drumbeats echoing off empty streets. She pulled out her phone and called her father, hoping he'd pick her up. "Why are you coming back?" he asked bluntly. Catherine laughed it off, brushing away the sting in his voice. "Got laid off. Thought I'd come home and freeload a little." He didn't answer. The rain didn't let up. Catherine waited. Minutes turned into hours. Afternoon slipped into evening, but no one came. The cold soaked through her coat, and still she waited alone. Finally, with numb fingers and a suitcase dragging behind her, she trudged through the storm, heading toward the house she once called home. Just as she reached the front porch, voices filtered through the door, and her sister-in-law, Hazel, grumbled with irritation. "Seriously, was it that urgent? Did we have to do the title transfer in this kind of weather? Look at me, I'm drenched." Her mother's voice responded, lower but clear. "It's for your own good. Catherine's lost her job." "You really want to give the house back to her now?" Hazel scoffed. "If she's coming back, let her rent. I'm not used to sharing space with my sister-in-law." Catherine stood frozen at the door, unsure whether it was the icy rain clinging to her skin or the bitter chill of betrayal that had her trembling. Her entire body shook. Raindrops slid down her cheeks, reaching her lips. She licked the moisture absently. It tasted salty. "So this is what a storm tastes like salt and heartbreak." She finally knocked. Her mother answered, a forced smile tugging at her lips. "Catherine." "You're back." Catherine nodded and stepped inside, her shoes squelching on the floor. As she bent to remove them, her mother added, "The rain was just too heavy. Your dad was going to pick you up once it let up. You took a cab, right?" "Yeah," Catherine replied coolly. As she changed shoes, she noticed several pairs soaked and muddy scattered by the door. She raised an eyebrow. "Did you all go out today?" Her mother hesitated, then gave a weak excuse. "We were at Hazel's parents' place before the storm. Just got back, that's why everything's wet." Catherine hummed softly and rolled her suitcase down the hall. When she reached her old bedroom and opened the door, she froze. The room was filled with boxes and bags. She turned slowly to her mother. "What is this?" Her mother shifted uneasily. "The house is a bit crowded and you're not home often. So we used your room for storage. And my things?" Her mother opened the balcony door and gestured. "Hazel packed them for you. They're over there." Catherine walked to the balcony and stared at the heap of hastily packed bags. Whose idea was this? "I paid for this house. Do I not even deserve a room in it?" Her mother looked away, murmuring something inaudible. Hazel's voice cut through the tension, sharp and unapologetic. "So what if you bought the place, Catherine? Planning to evict me now?" Catherine's eyes narrowed. "You're all supposed to be family. But I'm the outsider." Tired of arguing, she turned and headed for the study. She found her brother, Bentley, inside, gaming with his headphones on. "Bentley, they've turned my room into a storeroom. Where exactly am I supposed to sleep?" He pulled off his headset, still tapping at his keyboard. "Hang on, I'm almost done." Catherine waited. After a few minutes, he finally stood and walked over. "Don't be mad. It's Mom and Hazel. They kept saying there was too much stuff and nowhere else to put it, so they used your room." He paused, then offered, "How about this? Hazel and I can stay at a hotel for a few days. You can use our room in the meantime." Then, almost as an afterthought, he asked, "By the way, how long are you staying this time? You know, Providence is so far away. Why don't you just stay here and find something nearby? It's better when families stick together." Catherine had heard this line more times than she could count. In the past, she always replied that her degree didn't align with the local job market, and even if she did manage to land a position nearby, the pay wouldn't be worth it. Then she'd return to Providence without a second thought. But not this time. "I've been thinking the same," she said without hesitation. "I've been moving around for too long. It's time I planted roots somewhere. I'm staying. For good." She turned to Bentley. "So does it make sense for you and Hazel to live in a hotel? Just ask Mom to clear out my room." "I'll move back in." Bentley blinked, caught off guard. Then, after a pause, he nodded. "All right, I'll ask them to start clearing it out now." But Hazel's sharp voice echoed from the hallway. "And where exactly are we supposed to move everything? This house is already cramped." No one moved. A long silence stretched between them until finally Bentley spoke up again. If no one else will do it, I will. He stepped toward the bedroom, but their mother quickly stopped him. You don't know where anything goes. Let me handle it. Catherine looked between them, unbothered. She didn't need that room to prove her place. If it's too much trouble, that's fine. Just give me the keys to the condo I bought. It's sitting empty, isn't it? She extended her hand toward her mother, who stared blankly at it. Catherine turned to Bentley, eyes narrowing. What's going on? Bentley hesitated. Catherine, try not to take it the wrong way. Hazel's brother is living there right now. It'd be awkward for you to stay. Oh, I see. She kept her voice even, but her jaw tightened. All right then. What about the unit at Rosewood Towers? That one should be free. Hand me the key. The room fell into a tense hush. No one moved. At last, their father, silent up to this point, finally broke the stillness. Catherine, did you come back to demand property? Or just to flaunt that you bought multiple homes? She almost laughed. Is that how you see me? She asked. Because I asked where I could sleep in a house I paid for? She looked around the room. I didn't come back to show off. But it's funny you'd think someone with 3 properties wouldn't be homeless. Their expressions soured, but no one responded. Catherine knew what was happening. They saw her as a burden now, believing she'd returned broke and unemployed. They wanted her out. Fine. If they wanted her gone, she'd make it clear what that meant. So your silence is an answer, she said slowly. You all want me out, don't you? Still, no one spoke. Hazel finally broke the silence with a sneer. Honestly, who's ever heard of a woman in her 30s, unmarried, jobless, moving in with her brother and his wife? Visiting is one thing, but squatting? That's just pathetic. Catherine chuckled dryly. Her voice turned cold. That's not your decision to make. I'm talking to my family. Hazel's face contorted with anger. Bentley turned toward Catherine, frowning. Catherine, I've been patient, but you should show Hazel some respect. She doesn't owe you anything. She stared at her brother for a long moment before answering. I don't have an issue with her, Bentley. My issue is with your silence. She straightened her spine. I bought this house. I bought the condo your wife's brother is in. I even gave you another one when you got married. You, of all people, benefited the most, and now you stand here like some moral authority. Catherine's gaze hardened. If you've got the guts, return all 3 homes, move your wife and our parents into a rental. Let's see how well that works out for you. The room fell into stunned silence. Then Hazel snapped, her voice rising in pitch. Fine, maybe we should. Maybe it's time we stopped pretending we owe you anything. Bentley turned to her, his voice tight. Hazel, stop. No, she wants a scene? Let's give her one. Hazel marched to the living room, grabbed the duffel bag Catherine had brought in earlier, and threw it at her feet. There, you want a place. Start by taking your stuff out of here. The bag hit the ground with a heavy thud, the zipper bursting slightly open, revealing a glimpse of crisp documents and a flash of dark velvet. Catherine didn't flinch. Instead, she knelt down, calmly unzipped the bag, and pulled out a navy blue envelope. She stood slowly and opened it, revealing a sleek black folder inside. You know, she said, lifting her chin, I hadn't planned on saying anything. I came back hoping for peace. But since you think I'm here to beg, let me clarify something. She opened the folder and held it up for everyone to see. This is the purchase agreement for a new 5-bedroom house fully paid, sitting on the hilltop with a private garden and pool. I bought it last week in cash. Bentley's mouth parted slightly. Hazel's smirk faltered. I didn't come back to mooch off anyone. I came because, for a brief moment, I believed families still meant something. Catherine took a deep breath. But thank you for reminding me exactly why I left in the first place. She closed the folder, returned it to her bag, and slowly looked at each of them. From now on, I don't want a single one of you stepping into my new home. Don't ask for help. Don't ask for favors. And especially don't pretend we're still close when it's convenient. Then she turned to her father, her voice cutting and clear. Since you think I'm just here to flaunt my success, fine. Consider it flaunted. Without another word, she picked up her bag and walked out. Outside, the rain had stopped. The sky was beginning to clear, golden rays breaking through the heavy clouds. Catherine smiled to herself. She wasn't walking away with nothing, she was walking away with everything that mattered. Her dignity, her power, and the freedom to never look back. After Catherine's final words, Bentley's expression turned dark with fury. But before he could say anything, their father rose abruptly from the sofa and barked, "Catherine, how dare you speak like that to your family?" His voice rang through the house, sharp and harsh. Catherine didn't flinch. She answered calmly, "Let me ask one last time, are none of the 3 properties I purchased available for me to live in?" Yes, it was her mother who responded this time, firm and unapologetic. Catherine nodded slowly, letting the weight of that answer settle. She looked at each of them with icy precision. "So what you're saying is, you want to cut me off, sever ties, is that right?" No one spoke. Her voice lowered like calm before a storm. "Very well. Then let's make it official. As of today, I, Catherine Morgan, have no parents, no brother, and no family." Dragging her suitcase behind her, she walked out of the house without looking back. That night, she booked a hotel and sat in silence, staring out the window as the city lights blurred into a smear of gold. After settling in, she called her old law school friend and explained her situation. "I want to know if I can legally reclaim the 3 properties I purchased. They're in the names of my family members, but I paid for every single one." Her friend, now a successful attorney, asked if there had been any formal gift agreements. "Only verbal," Catherine admitted. "I mentioned one property was meant for my parents to retire in." Her friend sighed. "The one gifted verbally might be tricky, but the others? We can make a case." Catherine didn't hesitate. "Do what you need to." "I want the names changed. I want them back." She hired her on the spot. After hanging up, a strange emptiness settled in her chest. It was as if something had been carved out of her, but she welcomed the clarity. She thought of the long years she'd spent working part-time through high school, then juggling multiple jobs after college. Every cent saved had gone toward buying those homes, her security, her future. She had planned carefully, one house for her parents' retirement, one for herself, and one to rent out for passive income. But that wasn't enough. Her family hadn't just taken advantage, they had turned their backs the moment she seemed weak. They wanted all 3. They wanted her gone. She opened her bank app and stared at the balance. The numbers blinked back at her, enough to live 10 lifetimes in comfort. She laughed quietly, tears in her eyes. So be it. The next morning, Catherine visited the most exclusive real estate office in the city, Golden Bay Villas. By noon, she had purchased a fully furnished 5-bedroom estate on the hilltop. $7 million, paid in full. She moved in that evening. She hired a live-in housekeeper, stocked the kitchen with fine wines and imported teas, and took long morning walks through the private garden. For half a month, peace finally reigned. Then her phone rang. It was her mother. "Catherine, are you insane? How dare you file a lawsuit against your own family?" She shrieked before Catherine could even say hello. Catherine let out a short laugh. "Ms. Lewis, I believe you have the wrong number. I'm suing Bentley for squatting on my properties, nothing more. You've crossed the line. This is a family matter. What kind of ungrateful daughter are you?" Catherine's tone turned sharp. "You think declaring we're family suddenly erases what you've done? Your brother says that legally you're obligated to support us," her mother spat. "You can't just walk away," Catherine smirked. "Then go ahead and sue me. From what I hear, a few $100 a month covers legal obligations. I'll even send it in the form of gift cards if you'd like." There was silence on the other end. "Oh, and by the way," Catherine added, her voice laced with mock sweetness, "I also heard material support is acceptable. I can deliver $500 worth of toilet paper and sanitary pads to your doorstep every month. Just say the word." She ended the call. Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in hues of defiant gold. Catherine leaned back in her chair, sipping her wine. She was no longer the girl begging to be accepted. She was the woman they'd underestimated. And now she was finally free. The next day, as Catherine enjoyed a quiet afternoon in her sunlit living room, her phone rang again. It was her mother. "You ungrateful brat," her mother snarled over the line. "Just wait until Bentley gets home and sees that lawyer's letter. He'll beat you to a pulp." Catherine didn't flinch. "Send him, I'll wait." She ended the call and went to open the door, where she was met by a woman holding a tray of freshly cut fruit. The woman had a warm, open expression and looked vaguely familiar. "Hi, I'm Gwen Sinclair, your neighbor," recognition sparked. Gwen was a popular local TV host. Her charisma was even more charming in person. "Catherine Morgan," she replied, smiling. "Would you like to come in?" Gwen waved it off. I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm hosting a small reunion tonight and it might get a bit noisy. Hope that's okay. Not a problem at all, Catherine said. Gwen tilted her head curiously. You seem about our age. Why don't you come over? I thought someone older lived in that villa. Catherine intended to decline, but Gwen's friendliness made it difficult. Before she knew it, she walked next door, a little overdressed but warmly welcomed. Inside, Gwen's place buzzed with cheerful conversation and the scent of grilled food. Gwen introduced her to the guests as her neighbor, and soon Catherine was laughing, talking, and relaxing more than she had in weeks. That was until Harper walked in with Bentley. Harper spotted her instantly and stormed across the room. Catherine, how did you find this place? She demanded, her voice sharp with disbelief. Gwen, unaware of the tension, looped her arm around Harper's. Come on, let me introduce you too. But Harper spoke first. This is my sister-in-law, the one I always talk about. Unemployed, still mooching off her brother. I didn't expect her to follow us here. There was an awkward pause. All eyes shifted between them. Catherine kept her smile steady. What a surprise. This is my brother and sister-in-law. I didn't know you and Gwen were classmates. Gwen blinked in surprise. Really? Small world. But Harper, Catherine didn't follow anyone. She's my neighbor, I invited her. Bentley's jaw tensed. Harper's smile faltered. You're her neighbor? She repeated, stunned. How is that even possible? She lives in the villa next door, Gwen confirmed. I assumed she rented it. I didn't rent it, Catherine interjected. I bought it, Harper laughed loudly, almost desperately. You? Bought a villa here? You used every dime on those 3 houses. Where did the money come from your imaginary boyfriend? Catherine's voice dropped an octave, calm and deadly. I worked for everything I have. You both knew I was drained after buying those homes. And when I came back, you couldn't wait to take them all. People were listening now, pretending not to, but intrigued. I've hired a lawyer to reclaim what's rightfully mine, Catherine continued, and I suggest you both start packing. You'll be out with nothing but what you brought in when the court rules. Harper's cheeks flushed crimson. You think people here will believe you? Catherine stepped closer, lowering her voice so only Harper could hear. They already do. Behind them, murmurs had started. Guests whispered. Bentley's coworkers, Gwen's old college friends, they were all processing what they'd just heard. Then, to drive the nail further, Gwen raised her glass. To new neighbors, she shouted, looking straight at Catherine, and strong women who don't let anyone walk over them. The room erupted in cheers. Harper looked as if she'd swallowed nails. Catherine smiled, sipped her wine, and turned back to the party. It was poetic. The very people who once tried to shame her now had to watch her shine in a villa they couldn't even dream of affording. And this was just the beginning. Catherine's final words sent ripples through the gathering. The murmurs around the room grew louder. Several guests looked toward Harper with raised brows, their smiles vanishing. One woman, a sharp-tongued realtor, asked loudly, Wait, Harper, didn't you say your in-laws gifted you all 3 properties? And that your sister-in-law was lazy, plain, nearly 40, and still living off your family? Harper turned beet red. You misunderstood, Catherine chuckled dryly. So this is how you've been twisting the truth behind my back. It doesn't matter now, Ms. Luce, my mother, just called. She got the lawyer's letter today. You'll have your copy waiting when you get home. The air grew thick with awkwardness. Guests excused themselves one by one. It was no longer just a reunion, it had turned into a courtroom. Sensing the shift, Catherine turned to Gwen. I'm sorry for disrupting your evening. I'll head back. Thank you for your hospitality. Please visit when you have time. As she made for the door, Harper lunged forward and grabbed her arm. Catherine! You owe us an explanation. Where did you get the money to buy a villa here? Was it Mom? Did she give it to you behind our backs? Catherine stared at her, then turned to Bentley. Your husband still has a mother, she said evenly. I don't. With that, she shook Harper off and walked away. Bentley and Harper trailed after her like shadows, attempting to slip into her home as she entered. But Catherine slammed the door shut and locked it. Her housekeeper, a soft-spoken recent graduate named Piper Hart, peeked around the corner, startled by the noise. Catherine offered a reassuring smile. It's fine. Just some uninvited guests, she glanced at the flustered young woman. Pack a small bag. We're going on a trip, Piper blinked. I just started working. I can't afford a vacation. Catherine laughed. It's my treat. Food, flights, lodging, everything. You're coming with me. Piper hesitated. Where to? Catherine thought for a moment. I've never really planned a vacation before. Any place you've always wanted to visit? Piper lit up. There's a town in the southwest I've always dreamed of seeing. Perfect. Let's go. They booked their flights that night. When Piper called her parents to tell them, her mother panicked. You met her 2 weeks ago, and now she wants to take you across the country. She could be trafficking organs. Catherine burst out laughing in the background. Piper rolled her eyes. She's not. She just won the lottery and quit her job. She's... Kind mom, just quirky. Later that night, as they finished packing, Catherine shared more. My parents always favored my brother. When they found out I lost my job, they didn't ask if I was okay. They just kicked me out. Piper listened in quiet sympathy. I bought 3 homes, one for them, one for myself, one to rent. I was going to come back, maybe relax a little. But they gave the house meant for me to Harper's brother. And they wanted me gone. She paused, her voice thick. I thought I'd be welcomed home with love. Turns out the only one who saw me as family ... Was me. Piper set down her suitcase and walked over. Though not good with words, she placed a hand gently on Catherine's shoulder. Family or not, she said softly, if they don't treat you like one of their own, they don't deserve you. Let them go. Otherwise, they'll just keep taking. Catherine smiled, a tear slipping down her cheek. She wasn't alone, not anymore. Catherine smiled. You're right. So don't worry. I'm not some villain out to harvest organs. Piper laughed at the joke, easing the tension. Later that evening, Harper and Bentley returned to Gwen's gathering, though their faces were stiff and their smiles forced. Catherine, watching from her window, shook her head. If it were her, she would have been too ashamed to go back. The reunion eventually wrapped up, and Catherine saw guests saying their goodbyes and driving off one by one. Only Harper and Bentley walked away slowly, silently, their posture defeated. Shortly after, Gwen knocked on Catherine's door. Piper made her a fresh cup of coffee. I'm so sorry about what happened, Gwen said, clearly embarrassed. Catherine shook her head. No apology necessary. I didn't expect to run into them here either. But deep down, she knew this was just the beginning. Now that Harper and Bentley knew where she lived, trouble was sure to follow. I should probably warn security, she added, pulling out her phone. They'll likely try to use your name to get past the gate. Gwen's smile faded. They're not on my list of approved visitors, don't worry. I'll make sure of that. Thank you, Catherine said sincerely. That night, as expected, her phone rang. It was her mother. Catherine, your brother said you bought a villa. When did you get the money to do that without telling us? Catherine didn't answer right away. What does it have to do with you? She replied calmly and ended the call. Immediately after, a message came through from Bentley. Catherine, you're getting more disrespectful by the day. Blocking mom and dad? She responded without hesitation. And you freeload off the houses I bought. Return them, you leech. Bentley tried calling. She blocked him too. Then she took it one step further. She sent their photos to the villa's property management group chat with a message. These 4 are not allowed past the front gate. Harassment complaints will follow if they appear. The next morning, Catherine and Piper boarded a flight to Spring City. For 2 weeks, they enjoyed blissful freedom. No interruptions, no calls. Just fresh mountain air, lazy mornings, and good food. Piper filmed everything for her vlog. In the evenings, she edited while lounging in their suite. Miss Morgan, she said one night, would it be okay if I included you in the video? Catherine smiled. Go ahead. The next morning, Catherine awoke to find Piper jumping excitedly around the room. We went viral, she shouted. Catherine rubbed her eyes. What? Over 1 million views overnight. Comments flooded in. Dream boss. I'm quitting my job and becoming a housekeeper. Does she need a personal chef? I come with my knives. Piper looked overwhelmed. What do we do? Catherine smiled. Run with it. This is your moment. Build your platform. Piper hesitated. Then I'll share the income with you. Catherine raised an eyebrow. You don't have to. You're the one editing and doing the work. But you're the reason people are watching, Piper said sincerely. It's only fair we split it. Catherine laughed. Fine, but only if you promise not to quit. I need your cooking. Piper grinned. Deal, you're stuck with me. They both laughed, unaware that the video had also caught the attention of a local news outlet, and that the next time Catherine's name would make headlines, it wouldn't just be for a viral video. It would be for something far bigger. Fine, as long as you don't quit, that's all I care about, Catherine said, smiling. The unexpected attention brought joy at first, but it didn't last long. By evening, the situation spiraled. A few anonymous users began resharing the vlog clips with malicious commentary, twisting the narrative. They labeled Catherine as an ungrateful daughter who blocked her aging parents and sued her brother for property, despite already owning a luxury villa. The internet, hungry for controversy, latched onto the drama. What had started as a heartwarming morning story turned into a digital battlefield by nightfall. Piper was visibly shaken. "Miss Morgan, what should we do?" Catherine, ever composed, replied, "Nothing for now. Let them enjoy their hysteria. The truth doesn't vanish just because people choose to ignore it." The backlash intensified the next morning. But slowly, voices began pushing back posts written by former colleagues who knew Catherine personally. They shared her story, how she had lived frugally in Boston, renting a tiny apartment, working multiple jobs, and saving every cent. How she bought 3 homes registered in her parents' names out of love and duty. Now, all she wanted was what was hers. Catherine recognized many of the names. Their support made her heart swell. But their words were buried beneath waves of outrage. That afternoon, Catherine sat at the dining table with a pile of documents. Receipts, contracts, bank transfers, every record from her part-time college jobs to the final payments for the 3 properties. "I'm going live," she said. Piper's eyes widened. Now? Right now? They launched a live stream on Piper's account. Within minutes, thousands joined. Catherine began by calmly showing her records. Part-time earnings during college, rent payments, paycheck stubs, mortgage approvals, and property deeds. "I want to clarify a few things," she said, her voice steady. "When I told my father I lost my job, he didn't respond with concern. Instead, my parents rushed to transfer the ownership of all 3 houses I bought to my brother. I was left with nothing. Not even a room." She played a recording next clear as day. Harper's voice echoed through the stream, complaining about how she got soaked in the rain, just to sign transfer papers quickly before Catherine returned. Then her mother's voice, "We had to hurry. If she comes back jobless, would we be willing to return the houses?" Then another voice, "If she wants to stay, let her rent a place. I'm not comfortable living with her." The audience was stunned. "Why?" Catherine asked, emotion finally rising in her voice. "Why do I become an outcast? Because I was never the child they loved? Because I earned my way instead of being handed everything?" She looked into the camera. "Love freely given is beautiful, but love forced or bought is a transaction. And mine? It was never love at all." Then she addressed those who were watching and hurting. "If you're going through something like this, protect yourself. Set boundaries. Don't believe that money can buy love, especially from those who never gave it freely. Don't make the same mistake I did." A question popped up in the chat. "What about the villa? Did your parents buy it?" Catherine smiled faintly. "I'm glad you asked." She stood and walked toward the window, phone in hand. The camera shifted to the view behind her. Lush gardens, a sparkling pool, and the skyline beyond. "I won the lottery. $200 million. That's how I bought this villa. That's how I walked away." The chat exploded. She turned back to the screen. "I didn't flaunt it before because I thought maybe, just maybe, my family would value me for me. But they didn't, so now I'm done hiding, and I'm done giving." The stream ended, but the internet didn't. Within hours, clips from the live stream circulated everywhere, and this time, the world wasn't calling her selfish. They were calling her inspiring. The fallout was immediate and massive. Major platforms picked up the story, dubbing it "the heiress who bought her freedom." Hashtags trended for days. Catherine's name flooded social media, news headlines, and talk shows. Suddenly, she was a symbol of quiet resilience, of women reclaiming their worth, of choosing peace over toxic family ties. Her follower count skyrocketed. Brands reached out with endorsement deals. Financial independence influencers dissected her live stream and reaction videos, applauding her transparency. Piper's account was now verified, and she was asked to appear on podcasts and panels. But with fame came fury. Catherine received dozens of emails and messages from relatives, cousins she hadn't spoken to in years, begging for help or trying to guilt trip her. One message from her aunt read, "We're family. You have to support us. You were blessed by God. Don't be selfish." She deleted the message without a second thought. But the most aggressive retaliation came from her parents. Her father released a statement online through a local community blog, claiming she'd abandoned them in their old age. He accused her of manipulating public sympathy and using her wealth to smear the family. Her mother tearfully appeared in a short clip posted by a relative saying, "She was our daughter. We raised her. Is this how she repays us with lawsuits and shame?" Comment sections exploded with arguments. Some sided with the family, but far more sided with Catherine. "She raised herself," one commenter wrote. "They just provided a roof." Catherine didn't respond publicly. She didn't have to. The receipts were out there. The truth had already spoken. What she focused on now was purpose. She began working with a nonprofit that offered financial education to women in vulnerable households. She and Piper launched a side project, Her Worth, a series of videos and webinars teaching financial independence, emotional boundaries, and healing from toxic family structures. The first video alone gained over 3 million views. And through it all, Catherine remained grounded. One evening, as she sat on the balcony overlooking the city, Piper brought her a cup of chamomile tea. "You realize your story has become a revolution for some people, right?" she said. Catherine smiled gently. "I didn't want to start a revolution," she replied. "I just wanted to stop feeling like a burden in my own home." Piper looked at her with quiet admiration. "You did both." The legal battle over the 3 properties intensified. Catherine's lawyer, a sharp and tactful woman named Russell Clark, filed formal eviction notices and property reclamation orders against Bentley, Harper, and their brother. The case attracted even more media coverage, especially when the court dates were announced. Outside the courthouse, protesters and supporters alike gathered with signs, some calling her brave, others demanding she reconcile with her parents. Catherine walked past them all in a beige trench coat and black heels, chin high, flanked by Russell and Piper. Cameras clicked. Reporters shouted questions. She didn't flinch. Inside, Bentley's lawyer tried to paint Catherine as vengeful, unstable, and opportunistic. But Russell came prepared, presenting a timeline of Catherine's financial transactions, property deeds, and her parents' recorded phone calls, all legally acquired. The judge was visibly unimpressed by the defense's arguments. Back at the villa, she tried to focus on the next video series for Her Worth, but a message from Gwen interrupted her brainstorming. "Gwen, you might want to check the guest list for tonight's charity gala." "Catherine, why?" "Gwen, because someone you haven't seen in a decade is attending." Curious, Catherine asked for the name. Gwen sent a single word, Stephen. The name hit her like a gust of cold wind. Stephen Maddox, her first love. The boy she left behind when she moved to Boston. They had broken up amicably, or so she thought when she chose career over comfort. She hadn't heard from him since. Later that evening, she stood in front of the mirror, adjusting the neckline of her sleek emerald gown. Piper peeked in, jaw-dropping. "You're glowing. This dress was made for you." "I don't know why I'm nervous," Catherine muttered. "Because you've never lost control since coming back. But tonight, you're walking into the past." At the gala, the music was soft, the lighting golden, the air thick with money and ego. Catherine made her rounds, smiling politely, until a familiar voice stopped her in her tracks. "Catherine?" She turned. There he was. Stephen Maddox, now taller, broader, with storm gray eyes that hadn't changed at all. He was in a charcoal suit, no tie, with that same confident posture she remembered from so long ago. He stepped closer. "I saw your name on the guest list and couldn't believe it." "I almost didn't come," she admitted. They moved to a quieter corner. As they talked, the tension eased. Stephen had returned to his hometown 2 years ago after running a tech startup abroad. He had watched her live stream by accident through a viral reaction video. "I didn't recognize you at first, but when I did ... he said softly, "I saw the same fire in your eyes." She laughed lightly. "The fire is more contained now. Learn to control it." "I never wanted to let you go," he said suddenly. Catherine's breath caught. "You did, though. We both did." "We were young, stupid. Maybe now we're not." She didn't respond, not right away. When the gala ended, he offered to walk her to her car. Outside, under the twinkling lights, he turned to her again. "I don't expect anything. I just want to know if I can see you again." Catherine looked at him, her expression unreadable. "We'll see," he smiled. "That's more than I hoped for." As he turned to leave, Piper popped out of the car, waving her phone. "You're trending again, and this time it's for that dress." Catherine rolled her eyes with a grin, stepping into the car. But her fingers lingered on her lips, where Stephen had kissed her cheek goodnight. Maybe this chapter of her life wouldn't just be about reclaiming her power. Maybe it would be about rediscovering love, too. Over the next few weeks, Stephen and Catherine began to see more of each other. They kept it quiet, meeting for coffee or lunch in quiet corners of town, long walks through the botanical gardens, or sunset drives along the coast. Each meeting peeled back a layer of reminders of who they once were and glimpses of who they had become. Catherine found comfort in Stephen's steady presence, his easy laughter, his unshakable belief in her. He never asked about the money. He never flinched at the scandals or court headlines. He was just there. "You're different now," he told her one night as they shared a bottle of wine on her veranda. "You say that like it's a bad thing," she replied. "No," he smiled. "You're stronger. You know your worth now." But not everything was as effortless as their rekindled connection. One morning, Catherine arrived at a meeting with Russell only to find her lawyer unusually tense. "I just received a counterclaim from Bentley's legal team," Russell said. "They're accusing you of coercion, that you manipulated your parents into giving you the money for the properties and falsified records." Catherine's stomach dropped. "That's absurd." "It is, and we can disprove it. But it's designed to drag you through the mud, slow down the case, and weaken your public support." As if on cue, news broke that evening about the counterclaim. Tabloids twisted headlines. Lottery heiress accused of manipulating elderly parents. Online trolls resurfaced, questioning her character. Even some former supporters wavered. "I knew she was too good to be true," someone posted. "All that crying about family, please." Catherine powered through. But beneath the surface, the pressure mounted, and it bled into her relationship with Stephen. One evening, after dinner at his place, Stephen hesitated. "I need to ask you something," he said carefully. "Are you sure? This won't consume you? All this backlash, the public mess ... us?" She looked up, startled. "You think I can't handle it? I think you've been carrying it alone. And I'm not sure where I fit into your life anymore." Catherine set down her wine glass. "You fit. You always have. But that's not enough if I'm just a safe space you retreat to. I want to stand beside you, face it all with you." There was a pause. Then she said, "Then don't stand beside me. Stand with me." Stephen nodded. "Then let me help. I want to testify for you. I saw what you went through back then. The part-time jobs, the anxiety, the planning. If I can be a witness, I will." "No," she said quietly. "I won't put you in the middle. You're not. I'm walking in willingly." Their eyes met and something between them solidified. By the time the final court hearing arrived, Catherine stood in the courtroom more resolute than ever. Stephen sat in the front row, Piper beside him, both offering silent support. Russell presented everything: emails, transaction logs, tax filings, bank records. Old letters from Catherine's employers praising her work ethic. It was airtight. Then the judge spoke. "In light of the overwhelming evidence, this court rules in favor of the plaintiff, Catherine Morgan. The disputed properties are to be returned to her name. The counterclaims are dismissed." The breath Catherine had been holding for months finally released. Tears burned her eyes, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming release of fear and the quiet roar of justice. After the ruling, outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Catherine gave only one statement. This wasn't about money. It was about dignity, and today I got mine back. Then she turned to Stephen, who pulled her close and whispered, "And you never lost mine." Catherine's victory in court sparked waves of reactions online, but it was her live stream that reshaped the narrative entirely. With a calm voice and unflinching honesty, she said, "Luck was on my side. I bought a lottery ticket and I won." She continued, "The real reason I quit my job and came back to my hometown was simple. I wanted to use the money to live a better life with my family. But they despised me the moment they thought I was unemployed." The livestream chat exploded. "Wow. Karma delivered. This is what poetic justice looks like." But the backlash in her extended family was immediate. Her aunt sent a message in the family group chat. "Catherine, what you did was truly too much. Winning the lottery and then scheming to throw your parents away? You're a cold, calculating girl, very undesirable." Catherine replied without hesitation. If I'm calculating, then you're naive. Remember the $100,000 you borrowed from me years ago? Kindly return it. And while you're at it, buy 3 homes for your brother. You're so righteous, why haven't you? I bought those homes. And now I don't even have a single room to myself. What do you take me for? A bank with no password? Her brother Bentley chimed in, how can you say there's no room for you? Catherine dropped the audio recording into the group chat. Here, listen. Also, since I've cut ties with those 4, I'm no longer family to any of you. I'm leaving this group. And anyone who owes me money, please return it within a month, or I'll pursue it legally. Everything I gave, I will reclaim down to the last cent. If you're so generous, take them in yourselves. Return my homes and I'll cancel the lawsuit. She exited the group. Later that day, she and Piper, still on vacation, booked a spontaneous trip to Hawaii. But the drama wasn't over. Catherine received a court notice. Her mother had filed a case demanding alimony. The claim was weak. Her mother wasn't of retirement age and couldn't legally claim support. The court dismissed it in minutes. Meanwhile, Catherine's case came to a close. The ruling was clear. All 3 properties were to be returned to her within 30 days, but Bentley delayed the handover. Catherine responded by sending representatives to his workplace every morning. They handed out pamphlets labeled "Occupying what's not yours is theft." Within a week, his supervisor confronted him. You either resolve this or take a leave of absence. We can't have this chaos at our front door. Cornered, Bentley finally agreed to transfer the deeds. But the twist came when Catherine received a message from the property manager at her villa community. Her parents were camped out at the gate. The manager wrote, "They've been sitting there for hours. We're worried it's affecting the community image." Catherine sighed. "Let's go meet them." When she arrived, her mother jumped to her feet, ready to unleash her usual tirade. Her father raised a hand to stop her. "Catherine, we're at your doorstep now. Won't you at least let your parents in?" he asked. Catherine crossed her arms. "There was no place for me in your house," she said icily. "And there's no place for you in mine." Her father fell silent. Her mother tried again. "Is this just because you don't want your brother to live well?" Catherine's brow furrowed. "Excuse me? You have the money now. What's wrong with supporting your brother?" She laughed cold and bitter. "For years I worked to give you all a better life. I paid for my education, wore Adam's old clothes, and got mocked for it. I cried to you. You turned away. You raised me to be a servant to your son. And now that I broke free, you come here asking for more." She stepped back. "I suggest you both go home. Or go find someone else to fund your dreams, but it won't be me. Not ever again." "I remember everything," Catherine said to her reflection that evening. "Every moment I struggled, every insult, every door closed in my face." She had once dreamed of coming home to a family that would cheer her return. Instead, she returned to betrayal wrapped in polite silence. "The moment I had money, I wanted to come back and make life better for all of us," she whispered. "But the moment I said I was unemployed, they were already figuring out how to get rid of me." Her voice sharpened. "And they dare to say they gave birth to and raised me?" Her patience had run out. "Tell Bentley to hurry up with the transfer. If he doesn't, I'll ruin his job. The same goes for Harper. I won't spare either of them." True to her word, Catherine hired a crew of intimidating men, tattooed, well-paid, and loyal only to her. They followed Bentley to and from work every day. They didn't touch him. They didn't even speak, but their presence was enough. After 2 grueling weeks of fear and stress, Bentley broke. Under pressure from his boss and rumors spreading through the company, he finally caved. He called her, his voice shaking. "I'll do the transfer," he mumbled. Catherine didn't even answer the phone. She forwarded the message to Russell, her attorney. The process was completed without her presence. All 3 properties were returned to her name. Later, Russell informed her that the school district house had been occupied by Harper's parents. The apartment, Harper's brother. Her parents had handed over her assets to people who weren't even blood. "I should have known," she muttered, pouring herself a glass of wine. But she wasn't done. Catherine sent in movers and legal enforcers to evict every single occupant. Harper's parents, her brother, and anyone else still lingering were forced out within 48 hours. No notice, no mercy. The shock of eviction caused the first public crack in Bentley and Harper's marriage. Their shouting matches became the talk of their neighborhood. And soon they were filing for divorce. In an ironic twist, one of the tattooed men Catherine had hired approached her. "Boss," he said, "are you selling one of those houses?" "I've got cash." He pointed to the one her parents were still squatting in close to the hospital, near the subway. "Take it," she said. "You get a discount if you handle the eviction yourself." He smiled, and within the week, Catherine's entire family had been removed from the final property. Homeless, all four of them, Bentley, Harper, and her parents, showed up one night at her villa's gate. They begged, pleaded. Catherine didn't even look out the window. She sent a message to the property manager, have them removed immediately. The tattooed guards returned to the gate and her family disappeared soon after. But the drama didn't end there. 3 weeks later, the news broke. Harper had filed for divorce and Bentley, in a fit of rage, had killed her during a confrontation. The headlines were brutal: local man murders wife in a property dispute. Catherine sat still as she read it, her tea going cold. Bentley was arrested. Her parents begged Harper's family for forgiveness. None came. The court sentenced him to death. When her parents learned the verdict, they collapsed outside the courthouse. Catherine didn't visit. She didn't send flowers. She didn't comment, and she never looked back. "They lost their golden son," she said quietly to Piper. "If they live long enough to need support, I'll give them the court-mandated $500 a month." She paused. But who knows if they'll live that long? Without the only person they ever truly cared about. That night, she booked a world tour for herself and Piper: New York, Rome, Istanbul, Kyoto. As they boarded the flight to their first stop, Piper asked, "Do you ever regret it?" Catherine looked out at the sky. "No," she said. "Because for the first time in my life, one chose myself." Catherine's time abroad wasn't just for healing, it became a quiet revolution. While sipping espresso in a Persian cafe, her inbox chimed with an email that would change everything. A major business media outlet had published a profile on her viral rise and courtroom victory. The article praised her sharp instincts and unwavering strength. Offers followed. A publishing house wanted her to write a memoir. A production studio pitched a docuseries. Financial firms offered partnerships for female-focused investing platforms. But the offer that intrigued her most came from an international real estate development firm based in Singapore. They admired how she handled her assets and wanted her to spearhead a lifestyle project that combined wellness, housing, and sustainability. It was everything she didn't know she was dreaming of. After careful consideration, she accepted. Over the next few months, Catherine began splitting her time between Singapore and Tokyo, overseeing design meetings, mentoring young entrepreneurs, and managing investments. Her social media quietly exploded again, not with scandal this time, but admiration. She became a symbol of financial rebirth and personal power. But amid the jet-setting and business meetings, there was a message waiting in her inbox she hadn't expected. From Stephen. Subject: Kyoto. "Hey Cal, I heard you're here this week. I'm in town for a conference. I'd love to catch up if you're open to it." Her fingers hovered over the keyboard. It had been nearly a year since they last spoke. He hadn't pushed after she chose to walk away from her past, and she respected that. But something in her heart tugged. She replied simply, "Meet me at the Red Maple Garden, 5 p.m. Friday." When Friday arrived, the sun cast warm gold across the garden path. Catherine stood among the crimson leaves, unsure if he'd come. Then he did. He looked older, wiser, a little sadder, but still Stephen. "Catherine," he said, eyes soft. "Stephen?" They talked for hours about everything and nothing. She told him about her projects, her growth, and her peace. He told her he'd left his old firm and opened his boutique advisory group. He was thriving too. "I always believed in you," he said. "But I didn't want to get in your way." "You never were in the way," she replied. "I just had to stop standing in my own." He reached for her hand across the stone bench. "So what now?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she turned toward the pond where koi swam freely. "Now," she said, "we walk side by side, if you're still willing." He nodded. Always. 2 years later, Catherine's memoir became a bestseller. Titled Chosen, The Cost of Coming Home, it told the story of betrayal, revenge, and finally redemption. Her foundation, started with Piper, supported women leaving toxic family structures to rebuild their lives. At her book launch in Boston, a familiar face appeared in the crowd. Her mother. Catherine paused, their eyes meeting from across the room. She didn't flinch, didn't cry. Later, her mother approached quietly and said, "You were always stronger than we deserved." Catherine simply replied, "I know." And then she turned away, back toward the stage where her voice and her story would belong to her forever.